Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm Barbara Scafidio, editor of Prevue, and I'll be your moderator for the next hour. I am thrilled to welcome a powerhouse panel. We've got Jennifer Bello, President and CEO of JB Experiences, Paul Gabriel Nunez, Director of Spa, Fitness and Wellness for JW Marriott Marco Island, Mara Zhang, who is representing Naples, Marco Island, Everglades, CVB, and Rachel Riggs, General Manager for Merit's Global Events. Many, many thanks to Naples, Marco Island, Everglades, CVB, our sponsor, for making this happen today. It's been a pleasure working with you on it. Today's session will be recorded and you will receive a link via email, so don't worry if you miss something. And as with all Prevue webinars, you will receive CEUs from the Events Industry Council for your participation. We're on Zoom, so please use the chat to keep things lively. Ask me questions. I'll be looking the whole time. And also do check your console for an event well-being design guide, courtesy of Merits. Thank you, Rachel. And best of all, at the end, if you do stay on, we are giving away a $100 gift card, and I will announce the winner at the end of the show. So now I want to pass it over to the experts to say a quick hello, and then we'll do a poll to get a sense of who's here. While I'm doing that, feel free to drop a note in the chat. Let us all know where you're calling in from. So Jennifer, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm an experiential meeting and event planner. And one of the focus that my company takes on is wellness and togetherness and everything that help us to be and to be better. I have the amazing opportunity of bringing a program to the JW Marriott in Marco Island. And I'm really, really excited to share with you all the details that we took into consideration to get all that wellness and all those aspects into the agenda for the event.
Great. Paul?
Good afternoon, panel. Good afternoon, everyone who's in attendance. My name is Paul Gabriel Nunez. As she mentioned, I am the Director of Spa, Fitness and Wellness for the JW Marriott Marco Island. I have the unique pleasure of creating and developing wellness programming as well as spa activities and events for all the groups and guests that come to our incredibly beautiful property. I've been in this industry for about 30 years now, started out as a massage therapist and teaching, educating and consulting with different wellness companies and events. And the whole purpose of this is to try and nudge people in the right direction. We live in a stressful world, and when you come to a property like ours, our goal is to have you leave learning something and potentially taking away something that's going to help you better your lives, and as well as having an enjoyable experience when you're down there with us in Marco Island. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And next up, Mara.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mara Zhang, and I'm with Synergy Connect. We represent the Naples, Marco Island, Everglades CVB. I work very closely with Lisa Chamberlain, who is a group sales manager based in Naples at the CVB. I have been in the industry, travel, tourism, hotels for 25 years now, and I've been representing the Naples, Marco Island, Everglades CVB for 5 years. I am also very involved in different industry associations, including SITE. I'm past president of the SITE Florida and Caribbean chapter, and I just rejoined the board as their director of wellness for this year. Wellness has been a very personal journey for me, more from a physical standpoint than anything. But come 2020, everything changed for me, and I went in a different trajectory based on, I actually lost my father to COVID in 2020. And so I in dealing with like grief and loss and all these different things that were going on in the world, I dove deep into like yoga and meditation, and I actually became a certified yoga instructor. I also got my certification in event wellness design and became a wellness entrepreneur. So I am so happy to be here among this panel and sharing such an important and relevant topic with all of you, and how our destination can help you integrate more wellness programs.
Thank you for sharing that. And Rachel, welcome to you.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Rachel Riggs. I am the General Manager of Environmental Strategy and Wellbeing at Merritt's Global Events. And this little QR code is my contact information if you need it. I have been very passionate about well-being and wellness my whole career. I actually studied it in college, went to work for the Association for Fitness in Business, and fell in love with events while I was doing that because I was planning their events. And throughout my entire career, I've toggled between the two industries. And one of my biggest dreams was to see the events world come together with the wellness world. And so it didn't fit well in my vision until 2018, where I was sitting there watching attendee behavior at an industry and organizations event. And I was literally watching generations digest a meeting differently. And the younger generation was still balancing their workouts, their eating right, connecting with home, still doing their job. Whereas other generations were 7 to 7 out till all hours and just going home exhausted. So I approached Merritt's Global Events and I said, I think this is the next design element that we really need to look at. And so I approached David Peckinpah and Greg Bogue on our team, and they said, absolutely. So we started studying this back in 2018. And it was, we did 3 research studies, went in front of our customer advisory board, and then we launched it, and I started my job on March 2nd of 2020. And that was just unfortunate. But actually, I was furloughed and was able to concentrate some of my passion around the event industry as we were all really, really struggling, and worked with the Events Industry Council and helped co-author a book around well-being in the workforce for the events industry. So that accelerated my passion. I came back to Vancouver, I worked for Vancouver for a long time, and it accelerated my passion. Then I came back to Merritt's Global Events after the pandemic. And it really just accelerated and was a boom after that in terms of what people are looking for. And you'll see a ebook that we've been given to you, or that we're giving to you, and that really explains the design concept around well-being. And we work with our clients now to really look at their events differently, keeping the guest experience at the heart of the matter. And I look forward to sharing more about that. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you. And I will just add how honored I am that you chose us, all of you, to deliver this webinar. I recall sitting in Las Vegas 7-8 years ago with Melissa Van Dyke at the Incentive Research Foundation annual meeting, saying, what does the industry need? You know, we wanted to create an event, and we created Meet Well, which was a joint effort of the IRF and Prevue. We're going into our 7th year. It's my favorite meeting of the year to produce. And I just get a room full of wellness focused, passionate people. And then a couple of years ago, we actually changed the format so that it's also a part retreat and part event focused on integrating wellness into events, because we realized that if we're not all healthy, we're not going to be doing healthy meetings. So I'm equally passionate about it and excited about today. So let's get rolling. We'd like to know who's in the audience. So we've got a couple of polls, and then we'll continue sharing. Number 1, do you incorporate healthy F&B options and wellness activities into your events? Always, often, sometimes, rarely. And I don't know if we're even going to get one person with never. Okay. Let's hope not. After today, they will. Okay, so We've got sometimes at 42%, often, and then always. Yeah, good. And quite a few always, quarter of the audience. So that's awesome. Next poll. Oh, I'm not sure if I shared that one, but I think in saying so, you heard the results. Have you previously held a meeting or incentive program in Naples, Marco Island, Florida's Paradise Coast? Okay. Give you one more sec. All right. So we've got 75%, 76%, no, 24%, yes, well, good. And you, 76% probably will be after this event. So thank you for the polls. We can take those off. All right. So for that 76%, we have a wonderful video, which Mara is going to share. You want to hit that?
Surroundings that inspire ideas as incredible as the sunsets and award-winning restaurants that make every meal unforgettable. So don't plan a return to just anywhere. For extraordinary meetings, only paradise will do. Naples, Marco Island, and the Everglades, Florida's Paradise Coast.
Beautiful.
Wonderful. So I thank you once again, Prevue, for this opportunity, and Barbara, of course, for this great opportunity to discuss such a relevant topic. And I just wanted to kind of introduce you, just a short introduction to the destination and why this is, so relevant and appropriate for your groups. In Florida's Paradise Coast, like you heard it called, Naples, Marco Island, Everglades, CVB, health and wellness is part of our DNA. Now more than ever, attendees are looking for something different, for something new, for some kind of purpose when they travel, for a sense of belonging, connection, for transformation. And the destination can play a huge role in that endeavor, in that, goal aspiration. We're a community that embraces nature, mindful eating, outdoor activities, positive thinking, you name it. And we invite you to come and join us and experience all these things that the Paradise Coast has to offer. We have 3 destinations in one. So Naples, we're located in the southwest coast of Florida, and Naples and Marco Island both offer a sophisticated but very casual atmosphere, and it's highlighted by a very lively social scene, very thriving arts and cultural activities, exceptional restaurants, and a lot of luxury boutique hotels, shopping experiences, and plenty of outdoor spaces. Naples has actually been named the #1 destination for luxury travelers and best trending destination in the US. Marco Island is just a little bit more casual and yet very sophisticated as well. And it's the closest you're going to get to feeling that island feel without going overseas or having to use your passport. Marco Island is actually the largest developed island of the Florida's 10,000 islands. And it was named one of the top US islands by Condé Nast Travelers, you can see here. Naples has actually been named by the Gallup Wellbeing Index the happiest, healthiest destination in the US for an unprecedented 4 years. And this is a well-being index that's run by Gallup, and it encompasses or considers different areas of lifestyle, community, financial well-being, social, all of these different aspects and elements of well-being. So, this is what you're going to find when you come to this destination.
Happiest place there is That's pretty cool. So let's talk about, this is one of my favorite slides in this presentation. We call it the wellness wheel, courtesy of Rachel Riggs. Why don't you share a little bit of information about the 5 dimensions of well-being?
Sure. Thank you, Barbara. Hi, everybody again. What I mentioned in my introduction, we did a research study around well-being and how it shows up in event design. And one of the things that first, we use the word well-being because well-being is a state of being happy, healthy, and prosperous. And wellness are activities to increase your well-being. And when we look at well-being, we looked at several different frameworks, and frameworks are important to give people an idea of how to think about things, and that's how we do things. And we looked at a couple different ones. First, I started out with the 8 dimensions of well-being, which is a rather common one in the wellness world. And I really wanted to anchor in on that well-being word. And so I went in front of our customer advisory board, and the 8 dimensions of well-being included physical, mental, intellectual, spiritual, career, financial, environment, and social. And every time I put that 8 dimensions up, we kept getting into roadblocks when you would mention mental health or spiritual health. So we really kind of looked at that and took that feedback and put it into personal well-being, because it's all about caring for yourself. So it's looking at your physical well-being through exercise, food, all that kind of stuff. It's looking at mental well-being, which is so important these days. I just put on my LinkedIn a note about Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May, and there's a lot of resources out there. We know that our industry is stressed right now and has been for a while. So really, my message to you today on that note is to really look out for your own mental well-being. Intellectual, your curiosity, make sure you're looking at being curious because it helps your own well-being. And spiritual, it's not necessarily religious, it's about your spirituality, and that's all caring for yourself. So when we look at the 5 dimensions, you look personal well-being, career well-being, making sure that your career is where you want it to go, what you're doing. Financial well-being, caring for your money. Obviously, that's a very important aspect of life. Environmental well-being, that's why I'm integrated within the environmental strategy, because if we don't have a good planet to live on, a healthy planet, then none of us can prosper in any of these areas. And then social well-being, caring for others. And the concept and the theory is when all of these are in balance and moving forward in a positive way, then your life is going to move forward in a prosperous, healthy way. And so giving people that framework was really important to us. And when I was doing the events industry business recovery task force that I talked to you about earlier, it was really important to give that framework, because when people are stressed, it's hard to think about all these things. So to give them buckets of subjects to care for themselves, it really, really makes a difference. So an example would be if you're stressed financially, say you've gone through a divorce and have a lot of financial obligations, and the stress is really there. If that's going to hold you back, and I say that from a personal perspective because I went through that. And so it's going to hold you back. And until you get all of that in balance, and there are a lot of ways to get support in that, it's going to be hard to go forward in a smooth manner. It might be bumpy along the way. So, and I see people in the chat talking about environmental well-being. You know, getting out there and caring for the earth and caring for nature is very important to your personal well-being. So they're all connected and tied together. And really, Merits wants to give this to the industry and to society really as our way of thinking to help you. And we look at it from an individual well-being, as well as an event well-being perspective and event well-being design, and as well as an organizational cultural design perspective too. So we look at it in 3 different ways.
Yeah, and I think one of the concerns around well-being, I was just speaking with Helen Moon.
Yep, I'm on their board.
Well, we were at EMEC a couple of months ago. And she used the analogy of a rubber band in reference to well-being and COVID, and how we had gone so far in the direction of well-being and is concerned that now that everything is bounced back and we're all so busy, we've gone too far in the opposite direction and we're letting some of those well-being discussions and habits, and also how much we're integrating time for reflection or rest into our events. So it's kind of a concern, the place the industry is in right now, that
Sure.
we can maintain all these great habits and strategies.
One thing I wanted to share, Barbara, there is a really, really good interview with Mel Robbins on loneliness right now. The UN Surgeon General just issued a framework around loneliness and talking about social well-being, for lack of a better word. And I encourage people to check that out, because belonging is key, but you can feel lonely at events, at home, anywhere. It's just a matter of finding that social connection, and that's really important. So I agree with you that swing has been really, really big, and we need to be very careful in it.
Great info. So let's move on to blue zones. Would you like to tell us about that, Mara?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Rachel. That was so, such a great overview of, the dimensions of well-being and how they can be helpful to use as a framework or a roadmap for integrating it into events. We are actually a Blue Zones designated community. Naples we've been for some time now. And the Blue Zones actually, if for those of you that are not familiar with it, it was actually a project started by National Geographic in 2004 as a longevity research. And they discovered these 5 places in the world where people lived better and longer. And some of these places were Okinawa, Japan, there's Sardinia, Italy, there's a place in Costa Rica, California, and there's a city in California, and Greece as well. And despite all of these communities being, in different places all over the world, representing a variety of different cultures, they found that there were characteristics that were common in all of these destinations. Some of them were like minimizing stress, moving regularly throughout your day, having a clear sense of purpose, and sticking to mostly a plant-based diet. In some of these places, they also tied this like longevity secret back to their strong communities, their social networks, and their habits of like regular low intensity physical activity. So the Blue Zones community in the Blue Zones designated community of Naples has been helping us and leading the community's transformation toward this health and well-being, more status. So, these are people or organizations that you can rely on when coming to the destination to help with, planning healthy menus. A lot of the hotels and restaurants and local businesses are following all of these guidelines, and this could be a great resource to you when coming to plan a meeting in the destination. And I can share a link on the chat a little bit later when I stop sharing to the page.
Right. Someone mentioned Blue Zone book.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's a resource that's available, and I can share that as well.
Perfect. Perfect. So next slide, we're talking about innovative spaces. I'd love to hear from you, Jennifer, as I know you do integrate wellness into your events, and brought a group to the JW. So love to hear about.
Absolutely. It was a total pleasure to be in this group. I mean, Marco Island is a perfect space to bring anything related to well-being, not just because of what Mara was explaining about the good aspects of it. It's just everything, the access to the beachfront to bring the attendees to it, the wellness component that you can feel throughout the area when you go through. The JW Marriott makes an amazing job making it easier for us planners to actually book spas, actually set up lounges for wellness, for massage. And working with them was really, really good. because we went a step ahead. We talked to the chef and tried to come up with inventive resources to feature the local food, but also taking in consideration wellness. So the menu was worked out to offer more options that were healthy, that were sustainable with the area. Honestly, it's a perfect destination for it. And nowadays you see more and more clients thinking about well-being as an aspect of their meeting. You see them looking for spaces that count to create that peaceful and that good feeling in the meeting. You see it with the budgets, not that common yet, but it's getting there, that they actually open to a conversation to adding budget for well-being. And you see it even in the RFPs, you see the details for needs for well-being. And that to me is super, super important. And I have seen over and over again, especially after the pandemic, that the most successful meetings are the ones that take into account the attendee experience. And that includes them having a good time in all 5 aspects of the well-being circle.
That was the first I've heard of actually budgeting specifically toward wellness. That's an incredible sign, because the perception is that it would be something that would be cut,
Absolutely. And until now, until the pandemic and we restarted meeting again in person, you will see people cutting well-being and anything extra on that sense first. That was a trend before. But I think that going back to even what Rachel said, there is this rubber band effect. Yes, we're going back, but there's some things that got embedded in us. And that well-being that we don't know how, we don't know what means, but we want them to rest. When we're building agendas nowadays, before 7 a.m., 7 p.m., pack, go to dinner. Nowadays, you build up an agenda and you have, okay, let's give them an hour and a half between afternoon session and dinner for them to relax, for them to answer emails, for them to gain that mental peace, to actually connect during the dinner time. So all those things come with the implication that there are budget changes if you cannot pack it all in one day or pack it in a certain way. And in that way, I have found that getting the conversation through is effective.
I think once you do it, it's very hard to take away.
Agreed. Can I add something here really quick?
Sure.
The IMX actually put out this study a few years ago, which is absolutely brilliant. And it's called the Nature of Space Study. And it was something to help exhibitors, with their planning of their booths and the exhibitor spaces and trade shows and things like that. But it's just, it's a great resource. And I can share the link as well. I have it here somewhere, to integrating some nature into spaces by using like biophilic design, biomimicry, which is, kind of like imitating nature from the outside inside the spaces. And like this picture that we have here, for instance, on the bottom right, this is one of the hotels in the area that actually has a beautiful atrium where it feels like you're outdoors. And this is where they have their, this is their event space and their outdoor event space. It's all indoors. I also read a stat on that study that said that when you have trees, whether they're natural or artificial, so mimicking the outside, people are more likely to remember, 20% more likely to remember that space or that experience when you're surrounded by these trees, and kind of like making it a more multi-sensory experience.
Very interesting. So, Paul, you have such a great title and role as spa director. Would you like to share some of what's happening at JW Marriott?
Absolutely. And thanks for the kind words, Jennifer. We really enjoyed having you in our property. Look, let's go back in time a little bit before we start talking about what we have now. I just want to kind of mention how much of an investment our particular property has put into health and wellness. Back in 2017, we started discussing how can we change the dynamic of our meetings and how we're offering wellness components to our guests. They invested in sending me to Italy for the Global Wellness Summit in 2018. In 2019, they sent me back to Singapore to learn more about how to incorporate wellness into all these different things. And each time I came back with something unique and special for our groups. We have really changed, especially starting back then when I would talk to groups about wellness and say, hey, look, here's what we can do. And they say, we want spa services. Spa services, great. Maybe yoga on the beach, fantastic. We can absolutely do that. We have a huge playground. Let's do that as well. But when I started talking about other things to them, went over their head, right? Fast forward to 2020, now they're begging me and they're saying, here's our agenda, plug in spa and wellness into every facet. We're talking pre-arrival. We're talking guest room drops when they have something to help them fall asleep at night or something to get them motivated in the morning. A lot of the programming that we're doing now is about nudging people in the right direction. When we talk about different activities, of course, groups love to book spa, and I have to brag on my team. I have some of the best massage therapists and estheticians in the world working for us. And we can accommodate huge groups, but we're also asking them about how we can work with them for things that they can take home with them. So when we started asking certain banks, tell us about your associates, tell us about the people that are coming to the property. Are they type A stressful people? And they said, yes, they are. And I asked them, do they have trouble sleeping? And yes, they do sometimes. Sometimes they have trouble falling asleep, or sometimes they have trouble staying asleep. And so we created a program we called our sleep class. It's a format based on yoga nidra, which is yoga nidra means, basically a mental yoga, not necessarily a physical one. And we help people fall asleep in a class. We take up to 45 people at a time, and about 70% of those people fall asleep in the class. I facilitate the science part. And then my meditation instructor will take them through another space, and everybody wears headphones so that you don't get to hear the person snoring next to you, which is kind of funny. And then we also do a self-care massage class for our guests where, we have people that come in to get massages from our incredible therapists, but look, they haven't had a massage all year. And so they expect miracles from us. And while my therapists are incredibly talented, we ask the question, how can we help them learn about massage, demystify massage, and then take care of themselves at home? So now every single day, and for groups, of course, we offer a self-care massage class for an hour at 12 o'clock. And they come in and we teach them how to do massage for themselves at home. We also work with a really unique side of things, which is called Wellness for Improv, which is based on the Naples players. They come down and they facilitate a wellness class based on improv. And so they'll have group classes and competitions and really get people to interact. The point is that we get to experiment a lot with what is and what isn't wellness. And we've learned that the wellness term can mean a lot of different things. So while, of course, we have meditation and boot camp and yoga and all those different activities, we started to try to move out of just those basic things and move into a world that allows some more expansion for wellness for our guests and our group guests in particular.
Okay, and I just got a question. Where are you from? You're with the JW Marriott.
Where am I from? Oh, Marco Island or home? North Carolina, sorry. Oh, JW Marriott, Marco Island. Yes, of course.
Right, absolutely.
Barbara, can I say something? Paul, I just am so excited for us to hear that from you and the Marriott, JW Marriott's, because we're all, as event professionals, we're as good as our supply chain, right? And we need partnerships and believers in this world that can make it happen, because we can dream up the biggest plans, but if our partners don't help implement, then we're not going to be as successful as we want to be. So I am so honored to know you and to understand what you guys are doing, because it's going to have a ripple effect in the industry. So congratulations.
Thank you. I just want to add that it's easy to dream things up, but it's hard to execute and then do it repeatedly. I think we found that sweet spot where I've been able to put together a team of professionals. I've got about 13 or 14 wellness instructors, if you want to call them that help with these type of programs. And the team itself is phenomenal. Plus the property has been just so generous with its time and resources on allowing us to create these things. Some of them are fantastic and they work every time. Some didn't work, right? But we learned that along the way, and we've put together a pretty impressive program, I think, that allows for people to choose different types of options that fit to them. We think that we have something for just about everybody.
That's awesome. And I think, you know, one of the other big things that we at Merits look at is the 8 phases of design of an event and incorporating well-being activities in every single one of those, from invitation to exit, is so important because it really shows the attendee you care. It shows that you're going to be looking out for them, and it gives them confidence and comfort that you have their best at the heart of the experience. So it's just really cool to hear. And as an early adopter like you, Paul, and the folks here, it just warms my heart to know that the industry is really taking this on, because not only for our guests, but for our own people and their well-being and the event professionals. So it makes me so happy.
It makes me happy you're happy.
For those of you who might not be monitoring the chat, there have been some great resources you might want to get in there, including surveys. And I've always considered the Incentive Research Foundation to be really groundbreaking in this area. So people are also sharing terrific ideas, like a walk and talk break, you know, things that we can do. And I think we can get a lot of those ideas from our hotel partners as well, because they're doing so many meetings over the course of the year that they're an incredible source of ideas. I wanted to ask you, Paul, what are you seeing with RFPs from your clients when it comes to wellness?
That's a great question. It's kind of like that shift I was mentioning at the beginning of the conversation, where it used to be me pulling things out, and now they're already plugged in and requests for things. Some groups have certain quotas that they have to meet for wellness when it comes to their guests and their participants and things like that. So we're seeing things already plugged in. Of course, there's spa and there's the breakout thing, but I think that more importantly, I'm seeing that there are requests for activities, which kind of goes back to that thing about loneliness a few minutes ago. Look, loneliness will kill, right? Being separated from your peers, and sometimes having a spa service is a very individual act, but having an activity like a sleep class or like a self-care massage class or something like that, that's community, right? And so we're seeing some of those requests come in for more social activities outside of the meetings, but separate so that people can bond on a different level.
If I may add, Barbara, one of the things that I gotta say, coming back with Rachel and Paul thoughts, is what changes the game is really the openness of the suppliers, of the partners, to work with us to make it happen. Because yes, even though that we're seeing a shift towards having budget and having a quota that we have to fulfill with well-being, it's still not an easy conversation when you need to reduce the budget, when you need to cut something. And the willingness to come up with innovative spaces to create welcome suites or a check-in area, the openness to come up with new activities with innovative resources for us to even include that with a little or no budget changes everything. And it's amazing to see the shift and the mentality that Paul is bringing into it, because that's how you get things done, working together.
And
Barbara, I'll just chime in real quick. Sorry to interrupt. These are not super expensive activities. You know, the spa services, they can be, I get it. You know, when you have 900 guests and you have to try and get them a massage, I get that. But most of these are not crazy expensive stuff. They're the cost of the instructors, the cost of the space and the setup fees, things like that. But a lot of the times these are quite affordable. And so we're seeing people that don't want any spa when they come to the property. Oh, I don't want any spa. But then when I sit down with them and say, hey, look, here's what we have to offer, they realize that they can plug a lot of these activities in at a fairly marginal cost and give their guests something completely different. And sorry to interrupt you there.
Well, also,
Go ahead, Barbara, sorry.
I was just going to say one of our audience members, Cynthia, mentioned yoga, walks, other wellness activities are potentially sponsored. So you
Well,
can.
that's exactly what I was going to
Oh,
say,
okay.
Barbara.
Yeah.
That it's a unique proposition for your sponsors. You know, I had mentioned earlier, I was with the Vancouver Destination Marketing Organization for 16 years, and Vancouver was very innovative in both the well-being and sustainability side of things. And when I was a sponsor, when I sponsored a well-being activity versus a mug or whatever, I had so much more engagement with my customers. And it is something that I will forever be grateful for. And, you know, in fact, similar to what Meatwell does, we created a FAM around well-being and creating an experience for our customers to better themselves. And we did it around the Lululemon half marathon.
Ooh.
And my boss, I said, if I always wanted to run a half marathon, but I needed friends. And so I asked if it could be a customer experience. My boss looked at me and kind of rolled his eyes and said, if you can get customers to do this with you, I'll pay for it. And so after I did it for 6 years, we had 70 customers run and walk a half marathon with us. Because we had a business day where we saw and cited the hotels, but we also had that experience where they could walk or run a half marathon. And today, Lululemon's event was called Seawees, and Seawees is a made-up name, just like Lululemon is. And I went to them and I asked them to help me create a VIP experience. So we integrated that design of the Seawees into the FAM experience. And we did sleep wellness. We talked about essential oils. We talked about running and practicing. We actually, before the event, aligned people with run concierge at Lululemon stores. It was quite the undertaking, but it was so rewarding. I still call all those people that have been on that FAM with me, my family, because it was so bonding, so connecting. And to me, the greatest thing I could see, when I ran past the finish line the first time by myself, I was like, oh my gosh, it's just a wet mess and crying myself because I never thought I could do it. But to watch those people conquer a goal is a life bonding experience. And it was awesome. And some of my best customers were from that. And so, like I said, it's a family and it's a great way to create belonging, connectedness, and just relationships. Even in sponsoring these types of things, a wellness lounge or a walking and running club. That's one of the big tips I have here is don't do a 5K, do a walking or running club and multiple times during the day, because some people work out in the morning. Some people work out in the afternoon. Some people, I work out at lunchtime because it gives me a break in the day. So, and, you know, just getting out for that walk is good for your mental health as well as your physical health.
That's very important. The different levels of fitness that people who attend are in. One of the Barb, one of the attendees, great name, mentioned, we're also over programmed. Maybe for some people, well-being means downtime, or
Yes,
another attendee said a walk in the woods, a nature walk. So it's really including all levels of ability. I think another way to do that is to include a little bit of something in a break. Does anybody have some good ideas? We haven't really talked about great break ideas. What do you do at JW, Paul?
It depends on what the group is open to, right? I mean, we love doing philanthropic type of things for them. Sometimes we're putting together packaging for donations, and where everybody will add something in and be part of a larger group that puts packages together for certain organizations that need to support people in times of need. Other times they are art driven, where they might do something creative to get the juices flowing in a different direction outside of what they're meeting about. So anything that's going to push them to try something new. I've been playing with the idea of working with an ergonomics instructor, talk about body mechanics and ergonomics in meetings, because we all sit slumped over all the time anyway. So there's a bevy of different things you can do. it really just means that whoever's planning the meeting and whoever's operating the wellness at the program really need to collaborate and ask questions of things. Now we're starting to see people ask those type of questions instead of us offering them. And so that's been really beneficial.
Right. Right. I do want to encourage the audience. We have 15 minutes left and 4 very smart people on this panel. So if you've got specific questions for any of them, let me know. I do have a question. I don't know if we're going to get an answer, but it's pretty specific around what you just said, Paul. Is there research out there on CSR events helping others and the positive effect they have on mental health? I think this person's trying to make a case with their company for including CSR. What resources can they use to do that?
Are you asking me in particular?
Anyone on the panel? Does anyone have?
That might be someone who better responded than me on that one.
The Incentive Research Foundation has a lot of great work on that, as well as the Global Wellness Institute. I know that they have a lot of information on stuff like that. I don't have a study per se. It's something I want to explore myself and have our research team work on that. So we haven't quite got there yet, but there is a lot of information out there on the ROI of CSR. A really good organization that I have always done work with is since inception is Clean the World, and I do believe they have some research around that as well. So we can do it, take that as a follow-up if you'd like, Barbara.
Terrific. Yeah, we will do that. I do have a couple of other questions for the audience, for the panel with the time remaining. What do you see on the forefront? Like what's next for wellness and well-being at meetings? What's coming?
I'll take that because my job is evolving based on the well-being leader within the design studio in Merritt's, where I help the clients design their events differently. But I've also taken on the general manager of environmental sustainability. And I think that we're just at the tip in the events industry on making sure that our events do not have impact on the environment the way they have pre-pandemic. And we really need to take that into consideration. And we can have the attendees help us in that. And then they feel better about attending a meeting and that they're taking good care of themselves as well as the environment. And I think that is, I'm at a large corporations event right now, and that was the message from the main stage. I'm at their supplier conference. And we have all become very in tune with our own well-being because of COVID, but we also have to look at, the big picture of those 5 dimensions. And there's a lot of ways that we can help not only ourselves, but others through the events that we attend. So I think that's going to be coming down the pike. And quite honestly, this sounds really boring, but I lead the carbon accounting for Merritt's Global Events, and the ESG of what we're dealing, ESG, if you've not heard of it, is environment, social, and governance. And corporations and organizations are being held to very strict commitments that they've made, and it will better all of us, in my opinion, from the environment, obviously what I've been talking about, but the social part of that, as corporations and organizations are really focusing in on how can they help the world be a better place and help humans be better. So I think that's where you're going to see a lot of that.
Right.
I believe that, sorry, Barbara.
Go right ahead. I agree that it ties in. It all ties in, and it's a holistic approach.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Absolutely. And I agree that our job as planners, as part of the industry promoting these things, is a little bit educational too. Mm-hmm. Because even though that there's been an increase in interest in well-being from the pandemic on, we're going into this new normal. Everything has changed. Everything is different. And in this elastic band coming back, we have to take an active role on explaining what well-being really is. that affects all the aspects of it, from the personal to the financial to the career to this everything in our lives. And as ambassadors of the hospitality industry, we need to take our job to working with partners to keep opening their minds to work with us, to include wellness in every program and meeting, and also with our clients and attendees to explain and educate them in the fact that they're going to have better meetings, better retentive, better attendance if they consider well-being into their agenda. And I think that that's where we're going. I think that it's definitely an improvement and we can keep doing better.
And one thing that Jennifer just said is we've got to have people return to our events. And when they come, I mean, think about your own customer experience at a store, online, or what have you. What keeps you coming back is good customer service. When good customer service happens, you're going to be a loyal attendee, guest, or whatever you want to call it. And when that customer service of anything, when you feel well taken care of, you'll go back. And I think it's our job as event professionals to design with the guest well-being at the heart of the experience, because we, one, have taken their time, but two, they're our customers and we want them to come back.
Right. There's like a sense of nurturing and respect for the individual that underlies what we're putting on the agenda. And I completely agree with you. I did want to, this is specific again, Jennifer, I had a question about what was your highest ranking in attendee surveys, wellness edition that you've done, because it sounds like you do a lot of them. What scores? Because we are really priority.
So we always want to have above 60-70% in scoring wellness when we put things up. And there's certain elements still in the meetings, and I try to have wellness in all the meetings that we work on, that we can get better scores because we can have better elements, but at least we always focus on having the base for it, to have a foundational that all our meetings come from this principle that you're going to leave this meeting better than when you arrived, and you're going to take resources with you to continue working with it, to continue in the path of well-being. Does that make sense? So for us, it's not just that score during the meeting or at the end of the meeting when we go back and we ask in a survey, how do they rate or how do they feel about it? For us, it's also the work and the progress of making the attendees feel better even after they left the meeting and in preparation for the next one that they will be attending the following year, the following quarter, or whatever that is.
Well said. Well said. I think we're going to wrap it here. I do have a winner for the $100 gift card, a very lucky Sharon D. Felices. So we will be in touch, and you can go out and treat yourself to something wellness related, perhaps. A reminder that Meritz and Rachel have been so generous as to share this overall well-being design resource with you. So you've got the QR code right there, and that's an example of leaving something with you. I hope you will take a look, and there's some great info in there. And once again, thank you so much for being here. What a panel. Paul, Jennifer, Rachel, and Mara. Excellent afternoon. And thank you to a very interactive group on the chat. I hope everybody got some great ideas from that as well. And thank you to our sponsor, Naples, Marco Island, and Everglades CVB. Everybody have a great rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.